Boo! I scared you. I gotcha. It's just so spooky. It's just so scary. Hello, everyone. Hello. Did I get you? I gotcha. I was just typing my going live. Like, oh no, I did too good. Everyone's crying. No, I didn't mean it. It's only a joke. It's only a joke. It's only a game. There. Yoshi. Oh no! I killed one of my students! I killed beeplebees! No! Oh no, what a bad start. Okay, let's rewind. Hello everyone. Hello, poops and fright. Ah, no, we're gonna have to clean that up, aren't we? Oh no. Okay guys, hello. Let's go ahead and get to class. Let's get to class, shall we? Ready? 3, 2, 1, whoa! Hello everybody. Hello, I'm Babinka Bear, your local sun bear, art history teacher, educational streamer. And today we're talking about Full creatures of the Philippines. Oh, I just spat. I just spat right there. Let's say our hellos, shall we? Hello, everyone. Who was here early while I was using the little bear's room? The tree, so to speak. Hello, Matthew. Hello, Owen. Hello, Shadnord. Hello, hello. Hello, beeplebees. Young childish in the flesh. You're here. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, we're gonna be not necessarily mythology, but like, yeah, definitely folklore. I do have a whole presentation. It's an old one. I would have to kind of retool it. I actually do have a presentation about like Filipino mythology, but it's been a minute since I've done that presentation. So that one might need a little bit of retooling. And there's people who've like come out with like better sources or more compilations of sources since I last did that presentation. So I definitely would need to update it. But yeah. We're gonna be focusing more on the scary monsters today. The ghost ghouls and wait, how did that song go again? Ghost ghouls and monsters. We're gonna be talking about that today. So my crimes can't be undone. Oh no. That's right, because you ate time in the previous stream, beeplebees. You ate time itself. Oh no. We got a PowerPoint. Yeah, I always have a Google Slides. I always enjoy making these, even though this one was like down to the wire. Like I started making it last week. I got all the content and I was like, oh, I should be good, right? I should be good to present. And I'm like, I just need to do the aesthetics. The aesthetics took so long, y'all. And today was so busy work-wise. So I was low-key like, not stressing, but I was like, I gotta send this email, then I gotta talk to this person, and then I gotta text that person, and then I gotta work on my presentation, and then I gotta, like pay attention to what's going on my Discord. I don't want people feeling like they're neglected. It was busy. And then right before I streamed today, I was also cleaning up a little bit, so. Oh, yeah. A hugs? Wait, where? There's a hugs. Yeah, you got a PowerPoint. Oh, we should put in some music. A little guy. The creature, the criaturas. Yeah, hello. Oh yeah, get your stickers, everyone. Get your stickers. Get your sniffer stickers. Get your 1-point redeems in. You saw folklore and immediately said yes? Nice. You were doing all the things. Did I retweet? Did I? I think I did. I even wrote it out. As the ad break was going, I did. I tweeted. Well, not on Twitter. I'm not really on Twitter anymore. I'm on Bisky. So my Twitter hasn't been updated for like the past couple days, and it's probably gonna stay that way for the foreseeable future. So yeah. Did you blue sky? Did I Bisky? I did in fact Bisky. Yeah, let's put on some music. I was trying to decide what to play for today. I was like, what's like good and horror themed, right? The closest I could come up with was like the Higurashi soundtrack. Oh, you know what? Maybe the Umineko soundtrack. I feel like that one is like nice and foreboding, you know? Let's do Umineko. There you go. World End Dominator. Twitter boo! Boo! Everyone boo! Twitter mention. I am gonna put it down though. I know that it can barely be heard, the Spotify, but yeah, if it's too loud on my end, then I just don't like it. Actually, wait, can I lower it on my end if I do this? Yeah, that way I think you guys can still hear it, but it's not as loud in my ear. I re-biscuit you. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you. Though, does my voice go down if I do that? I'm gonna play with some dials real quick on my mic. So I put this down way low. Am I still you know what? I think that is actually affecting my that might actually be affecting my mic. So I guess we'll keep it here. Boo, tomatoes, I'm throwing tomatoes. Yeah, I do like that a lot of people have pretty much migrated over to Bisky, to Blue Sky. It feels nice, not having people following you and it being like I'm a totally legit account where I have totally legit content. I'm totally not a bot. And here it's like, oh, look, totally legit content. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that a concept? But yeah, let me know if the music is at least audible. It doesn't need to be loud. I don't need it to be overtaken my presentation or whatnot. But yeah, we can yap for a little bit before we get started. Yeah, today was just busy. Today was like busy, and I was just working from home today. I'm going to another school site tomorrow and the day after, so that's gonna be pretty tiring. That's why I'm not streaming on Thursday on Halloween, as it is. Friday though, I think. Wait, I'm just gonna open up my work email real quick. Do I have anything going on Friday? Can I just chill on Friday? I can chill on Friday, y'all. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Okie dokie. But yeah. It's we're in spooky season. I felt like I needed to do something spooky, and I feel like the best bet was folklore, Filipino folklore. So we'll be talking about that today. But how are y'all doing? How are y'all doing before we get into the swing of things? Yeah. Howdy. Today was busy. Let's see. Anything else going on? Is there anything that I wanted to talk about yesterday? I think I got a little bit better sleep last night, knowing that I didn't have to wake up too early. And I had fried rice today. I had crab fried rice from my local Thai place. That's my favorite. That's like one of my favorite meals is like Thai fried rice. And they got it nice and spicy. The tomato was perfect. The egg was perfect. The rice was perfect. All of it. Perfect. But that was also in the afternoon, so I'm actually getting a little hungry. Maybe Beans might get some Chipotle. We shall see. It sounds bomb AF. Yeah, oh my gosh. It's been a minute since, well, the thing is I am trying to like still eat healthy. The only thing is like things like exercise, going to the gym, taking walks in the morning. That definitely works out well when I have a consistent schedule, when I don't have to wake up at 6 in the morning to get to a place after a 3-hour bus ride. Cause yeah, that's been the main thing keeping me from cause me and Beans, we were doing these morning walks, but we can't do it because I have to get up super early to get to my school sites. So it was a lot more consistent during the summer. Same with like going to the gym. We could like consistently go like in the evening, but nowadays it's been a little wonky, but I'm also getting my steps in because these trips to the school sites, man, it's it's a lot of walking. It's a lot. So I'm hoping that I'm getting some kind of equilibrium in terms of like eating healthier, maybe losing a little bit of chub. I don't mind being chubby. I mind that that I don't feel healthy, you know? I'm okay with being, fun sized and fun textured. I like being round and small, but I just want to not feel like my hip. Today's drawings were a lot bit tormentous at first, but I think they turned out pretty good. Nice. I know you're doing another like you're doing the Drawtober thing, right? Like trying to draw every day. You said you were like redoing a work from before, right? Hope that's going well. Owen, is it because I said textured? Fun size and fun textured. Hey, fluff is a texture. You guys like my fluff, right? You guys like my tuft, right? I'm a little chubby too. You could poke me, and I go. You know what happens when you poke me? You know what sound I make when you poke me? I go like this. Stop that. Wait, I need my emotes. I go like this. Stop it. Don't do that. I meant a little bit. I guess that was a Freudian slip. Wait, what did... A lot bit. Oh no. A little bit. It's just a little bit. Awkwardly pets the bear teacher. Well, pet is acceptable. Pet is acceptable. I definitely feel that. I don't mind being a big dude, but mobility problems suck. Also fitting into tiny seats like rides and planes. Oh my gosh, don't even get me started on like the flights. Oh, thank you for the pet. Thank you, Matthew. Yeah, the tiny seats. I don't know if I told you, Young Childish, but I'm going to the Philippines at the end of next month. Oh my god, it's like 3 weeks from now. That kind of crept up on me. I go to the Philippines, but we're not in the good seats. Like my family and I are not gonna be in the good seats like at all. So I'm kind of dreading it. But it'll also be the first time that I'm going to the Philippines in like over 25 years. So it'll be fun. We just gotta get through the flight. We just gotta get through that. And the flight back. We love you just the way you are. Aw, thank you, Shadnor. That's like one of my that's like one of those things that's very sure to like get me emotional. It's one of the surefire ways to make me like this, just like meh. In like a good way, right? Like I remember one time I was like in a certain mood and I saw like this screenshot of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And it's the one where he's like, I like you just the way you are. And I started bawling. I started being like, you do, Mr. Rogers. You like me just the way I am. That's like something that always gets me. It's like Mr. Rogers and like other things that like count in that category would be like anything that makes you realize the majesty of space, you know, the last place uncorrupted by capitalism. It's like those two things that will like surefire make me be like, wah. Wait. Wah. Careful petting, don't get eaten. Yeah, don't, no worries. I won't eat you. Good luck, homie. At least you're flying with the family so you can share space. Yeah, that's true. It's true. It's always okay. Yeah. Hope the trip goes well. Thank you. Hello, Viteheit. Hello. The speech he made to Congress to get funding for PBS gets me every time. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. He's like one of those guys that just like, he understood like it's like one of those optimists. Like you can be pessimistic and be like, humanity is awful and terrible and ugly and blah, blah, blah. And in many ways, yes. But it's like those more optimistic takes of like, no, like humanity can also be like super beautiful and like loving towards each other and all those things that like they always get me, you know. It always gets me. Hello, Seishun. Hello. Welcome. We haven't gotten started yet. We can get started though. What time is it? 6:45. Let's chat for another like 3 minutes. I want people to have time to like file on in, and then we'll get started. I've done this type of presentation before in terms of like Filipino monsters, and like I mentioned to Young Childish, for those who don't know, Young Childish is another like IRL friend of mine. But yeah, I've done like similar presentations about this topic. Other times it's been focused on like gods and goddesses. Other times it was focused on monsters or like a mix of the two. I've done one. This music is so like hype. I've done a couple on like how this fits into kind of like the Filipino American side of things, because a lot of what I'm going to be talking about today is like more strictly on like the Filipino, like from the Philippines side of things. But I've done like a presentation before where it was about like what's the Phil-Am side of it. We'll kind of touch on that, but for the most part, this is just meant to be like a straightforward like, you know, these are some of the cool monsters and stuff. You know, we have some things on the. Oh, by the way, some of the drawings on here. First of all, it's kind of hard to find like art of like some of these monsters, especially because whenever I make these presentations, I try to err on the side of caution and use images that are Creative Commons. Like it's okay for you to just like copy and paste them. Not all of them are though. So like hopefully no one ever comes at me and is like, you used this artwork and it's not Creative Commons, so you need to give me money. But I tried to err on the side of caution, but I also like tried to find this good balance of like, I want you to like understand like the general vibe of this creature, and there's plenty of different ways to like reimagine these creatures too, you know. But I don't know, sometimes it's hard to like get images that are like Creative Commons that are like free to use, you know. So yeah. So some of the stuff is like illustrated by myself, some of them is like Creative Commons, and some of them I'm just like, I just need an image. There's literally an educational program, fair use applies. Oh, okay. I guess like I'm just overthinking it because like technically like, you know, with ads and stuff, this is monetized, and it's like, is it, you know, does that count? Like that's what I usually get get nervous about. Because, like, you know, like I don't know if anyone's like spending money like right this second on me, but like, you know, I overthink those things. Cause yeah. But anyway, I think that's been 3 minutes. Let's get started. Shall we? Okay. Is the music okay? It's not too loud. Okay. So, our topic for today. Folk creatures of the Philippines. Here and there I refer to it more as I was summoned by folklore. Hello, Deviation. Hello. Welcome. Yeah, we're just about to get started right now. Ram meow. So, I've been advertising this presentation too as like monsters. Let's shall. I've been advertising it as like monsters, like Filipino monsters right now. But I've also been trending towards like saying folk creatures, or I don't know, sometimes it gets kind of in my line of work too, you do want to be careful with like how you frame certain things, because like even just saying like myth, right? Like hello patchwork, hello. Good morning from the motherland. Magandang araw. Wait. Magandang umaga. I was supposed to do that during my raid train, but I forgot to. I I know enough Tagalog for greetings, and that's it. And maybe a little bit of Bisaya too. But if you guys want to learn a little bit of Tagalog and Bisaya, and you want to like greet someone, for morning it would be magandang umaga sa inyong lahat, which would be like to all of you guys. And then in Bisaya, I only know, what is it, maayong buntag? Is that morning? I'm sure someone will correct me. And that's all I know for now. But yeah. So what was I talking about? Oh, like I guess like the way that you frame certain things, of like even referring to something as myth, some people might not necessarily find offense, but it does kind of like open up the conversation of like, oh, should these be referred to as myth versus religion, like a religious story versus folklore? For this, I'm also kind of stalling for time a little bit more too, to just I don't want people to miss certain parts, but folk creatures I feel like is a little bit safer, because not all of these are like aggressive monsters that want to kill you and eat you. Some of these are just like nature spirits that they're just hanging out, you know? So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Look at this guy. Okay, so today, our focus for today is we're going to be learning about folk creatures, and oh, we got a raid. Hello. Welcome. You're Sleepy Witch. Welcome. Sleepy Invade. Welcome. We literally just got started. You guys came just in time. Hello, everyone. I'm BINKA Bear, your local sun bear, art history teacher, and educational streamer. Today we're going to be talking about Filipino creatures. Oh my god, a double raid. It's a double raid. Hello, everyone. Hello, Dreamy. Thanks for the raid. For both of you, thanks for the raid. You're playing Deceit? Ooh, cool. Yeah, howdy, everyone. Meowdy. A triple raid! Oh my gosh. Hello, thank you. Oh my gosh. Well, you guys came in just in time. It's a whole group raid. Oh, thank you, everybody. Thank you. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to catch up. But yeah, you did, let's see, Scholar of Ak. Yes, you did see a horsey head man. You did. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the class. My name's BINKA Bear. I'm your local sun bear, art history teacher, and educational streamer. Today we're going to be talking about folk creatures, some creepy monsters, some ghosts, ghouls, and monsters of the Philippines. So hello, everyone. Let's catch up on chat real quick. For everyone that rated in, so like both the streamers and your audiences, if you do have to raid and run, get some snacks, get some naps, no worries at all. I totally get it. I totally understand. I would love it if you stayed, but I also understand. Yeah, thanks again for the raid. So you're Sleepy Witch. Welcome. The Scholar of Ak. Am I saying that right? The Scholar of Ak. Welcome. Kamijar, welcome. Hello. I hope you guys had a fun time with your streams. Yeah, welcome, raiders. Let's see, and thank you, Dreamy. Welcome, welcome. Oh yeah, we have a 1-point redeem, everyone. It's called the Scratch and Sniff a Sticker. If you redeem it, it's only 1 point. You get a tasty Filipino treat. Group raid. Hello, Lost Wilted. Welcome, welcome. Zad Novitas. Thank you for the raid. Welcome, welcome. Kang Kong. Ooh, nice name. Wait, like the plant? Kangkong? Hello, Zad Raid. Welcome, welcome. Triple raid. Hello, ZZ. Hello. Hello, Lost Wilted. Hello, Zad Novitas. So yeah, okay, I think I'm almost catching up. Yeah, forget the Headless Horseman. Did I see the horsey head man? You did. We're gonna be talking about all manner of monsters today. Milky, hello! Welcome, welcome. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome. It was scuffed but fun. Yes, you're right. Oh, nice. The kangkong. I think I've only had it once in my life, but I remember liking it. Because I didn't really grow up like eating a lot of veggies, but as an adult, I'm trying to eat more veggies. Mandrake got a bit swole. So like, this is the old man of the anthill. The old man of the anthill. By the way, for any fellow Filipinos, in chat, feel free to either like, kind of like let me know too of like any of how do I say this? I was gonna say like feel free to correct me on certain things, but also just let me know of you know, if there's anything that I get inaccurate, because I do try to like add some of the sources that I use for my presentations. But you know, I'm Phil Lamb. Some of the stuff I didn't like grow up with, but I just heard through like either from my parents or from like other people. But the cool thing, which I am gonna mention actually as we get started here, is that like with a lot of these folk monsters, a lot of these folk creatures, is that like a lot of things vary between regions. So like if you go to one part of the Philippines and you ask about like this guy over here, the tikbalang, they might give you different details or even a different name according to the region, right? It's also because like the Philippines has a whole bunch of different languages, a whole bunch of different cultures, so a lot of things are gonna differ. So even though I do a lot of like historical research, or I get a lot of my information from like relatives and friends, that might differ, and I think that's completely okay. So yeah, feel free to chime in the chat if there's anything that I get wrong, if there's anything that you feel like might be improved by a different viewpoint. So yeah, kangkong on top with garlic is so good. Yes, I heard that. Can't believe they censored the tikbalang's huge hard abs. I know, right? Huge abs. I love learning about mythical creatures. Me too. That's what got me started on all of this. Like I am Filipino, but like as a kid, I was all into like Greek mythology, Egyptian mythology. So it made sense that like, you know, as I got older, I would look into like Filipino stuff too. Yeah. I'm set? You're set? But yeah, so we're gonna be learning about creatures and monsters today. Ghost ghouls and monsters. And then I already mentioned that like all these things, they differ according to region and language and culture. But also another big thing is that for some communities, it might be easy for certain folks to be like, oh, these are just stories, these are just like superstition, they're not real, you know. But for some communities, it's not just superstition and folk tales. For some, it might be like not necessarily also reality, but it's like a part of the life that you can't just be like, oh, that's just fake, you know? I think I had this conversation with someone in Randencourt. I think it was Archaic Bro, about like whenever people have told me about like encounters they've had with like some of these like entities, it's like, I don't know, like you kind of feel how real it is. Like I had a friend who told me about like, oh yeah, there was like a little duende, a little dwarf in front of his home one night. And the way that he told it, it wasn't like a, you know, a ghost story that was meant to scare me. It was just like a thing that happened to him. I don't really know how to like elaborate on that or to like, you know, just go more into that. But for some people, this is like reality. So best to be respectful of that, and best not to just be like, oh, that's so silly, you know. So yeah, just be wait, is he single? Oh my gosh. I got whitewashed early on. Yeah, I was set and ready to listen. Oh yeah, if you guys want to play around with your one last tangent before we get into things. If you do exclamation point babinkubs, Actually, it might be just me that's able to do that, but you can play around with your avatar. You guys are on the telly. You guys see that? The little guys that are bouncing around, that's you guys. You can actually change the color and the toppings. If you scroll down into my bio, there's a little window called Stream Avatars where you can change your little avatar, but there's also some text choices as well. So, yeah. There's some text choices so you can change your color, your toppings, your avatar. If one of the controls doesn't work, let me know. I'll try my best. But the easiest is to just go into my Twitch bio and change it from there. So, yeah. And yeah, you guys can also sit just like Kangkong is. Or polyamorous. Mayhaps. You never know. Looking for a new Pantheon polycule to join. Not the Duende. Yeah. That guy literally had like a duende on his porch. It was kind of crazy. This is true, especially in provinces. They're very particular about things you shouldn't be doing and places you shouldn't be going. Yeah, exactly. Free monster boyfriend. I know, for some people, this is like, this might be a scary thing, but for other people, it's like, so you're telling me they're real. So you're telling me there's a chance. You're telling me that maybe. I had a duende experience too. I live in the oh man, that's like really interesting to learn about, right? I was curious about that. I've already reached the perfect form. The cassava cake. Oh my gosh, maybe that's another flavor we can look into. We're trying to do like chocolate bibinka. We did like coconut. We got the ube and the pandan in there too. But yeah, okay, let's move on, shall we? So, I did want it to just be like a straightforward, like, these are some of the monsters, right? But I also, you know, being the nerd that I am, I always wonder, like, you know, what's kind of like the thing connecting a lot of these monsters together. Where do monsters even come from, right? And if you think about it, even though I do have like sources here, it's also something that, like, if you think about it, a lot of like monsters, they're basically just like derived from like fears that we have. Nerd. I am a nerd. But a lot of like monsters are like, they're like I say here, they're metaphors. They're metaphors for like either natural disasters or things that just make us scared. I don't know why I thought of this, but I remember that, like, if you think about Pokemon, the weaknesses of psychic types are all of like a lot of people, like, it's things that a lot of people are scared of. So the weakness to the things that are strong against psychic are bugs, dark, and oh my god, what was the third one? Ghosts, I think, right? Because it's like humanity like tends to be scared of a lot of those things. Not always, of course, but you know, those are some like core fears that a lot of people might have. I never thought of it that way. Yeah, I forgot where I found that out, but I was like, oh, that makes sense actually. Yeah, that makes sense. So I have a couple of examples here. I actually had a fourth example too, but I was having trouble finding like a nice image for it, but I can probably just verbally say it. But you know, we have some examples from like ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, and Japan as well, and with Shintoism. But for example, in ancient Egypt, they have a lot of deities, they have a lot of gods, including one who's a god of chaos, but there's also this serpent who is less of a god and more of a representation of chaos. Because the big thing with like with Egyptian religion, Egyptian mythology, is that they really value order. They value order so much that they even like have a goddess named after their idea of order. Her name is Ma'at. And when you go to the afterlife, according to Egyptian religion, your heart is balanced against a feather that represents truth, justice, and order. So if you lived a chaotic and like evil life, then your heart will be heavier and you'll get eaten by a demon. But if your heart is lighter than the feather and you lived a good, orderly life, then you get to go to their version of heaven, which is the field of reeds. So for them, they value order. So of course, the thing that they fear the most is chaos. Another thing is that Apep would also swallow the sun. So like the one, I guess the connection between like order, chaos, and all that is that they depended on, for example, the Nile River. It would flood the surrounding fields in a very like almost, it was like super predictable. it was very like not just orderly, but like it was so predictable. It was like the same time every year, so it was very dependable. Same with the sun. The sun will always rise in the east and set in the west, right? So that order gave the Egyptians a lot of comfort. So what would frighten them the most would be the absence of that. Would be like the idea that like maybe one day the sun will not rise. Maybe one day the Nile will not water our crops, you know? So that was terrifying to them, which is why like their most like feared creature was this serpent named Apep or Apophis. It was like the representation of chaos. It was like one day Apep will swallow the sun, and you know we're not going to have that orderly the things to depend on anymore. So yeah, you know, that makes more sense to me now. Yeah, exactly. That's one of my favorite tidbits of Pokemon. Yeah, there's like a lot of like really interesting stuff with like how Pokemon thinks of its typings and stuff like that, and its lore. So yeah, that's like one example. So this is like a societal fear, and of course they have like a monster that reflects that. So very similar to like the Japanese yokai. So these are like little demons and spirits, evil spirits that represent a whole bunch of different things. I'm not as well versed in Japanese like Shintoism as I am in like Egyptian and a little bit of Greek. But here, like it makes sense, right? Like if you have if you like go all the way back to like Neolithic caveman times and you get sick, or you like someone a close family member dies of like natural disaster, you know, you could blame it on those things, but you can also blame it on demons. As in, like, if you don't, for example, if you have no way of knowing about like microbes and bacteria and stuff, what's another explanation for like illness, for example? You could blame it on ghosts and demons. Like those are the things that are causing all of these like maladies, all these bad things that are happening to you. So this isn't specific to Japan, but like the yokai I feel like are a good example of that, of like, oh, blame it on demons, because we don't have microscopes yet to look at the little microbes that are actually causing all these bad things, right? Similarly to natural disasters, so there's a whole bunch of also like demons and spirits in Greek mythology and Greek religion too, like ancient Greek. I'm talking about like ancient Greece. So there's a whole bunch of like things in Greece as well, but I chose like a very specific figure to kind of like illustrate the whole thing of like natural disasters. So there's this monster named Typhon, and he is known as like the father of all monsters. So he's like the father of the oh, give me a second actually. Sorry, I was saying hi to Beans. Beans is back in Pog form. Monster Daddy, no, no. Well, he is the father of monsters, but his mate is a creature named the Echidna, and together they like they mated, they did the dirty, and they had all of these monster children, including the Cerberus was definitely one of them. I'm actually blanking on like which other ones he had. You guys can also look it up, but Typhon and Echidna, they definitely had Cerberus. Who else? Orthus, who's a two-headed dog. The Chimera. Okay, there we go. The Hydra. Get up on the Hydra's back. The Sphinx. The Nemean Lion. Oh, and some, I guess it's Medusa, but I've heard of another origin for Medusa. Scylla. So, Monster Daddy and Monster Mommy. So yeah, together they created like all these terrifying creatures, right? But another thing is that Typhon is also based off volcanoes and storms, because once again, if you go back to like Neolithic, like ancient times, before even ancient Greece, and you witness like a volcano, most likely that culture is gonna make a tale, a story about like what that volcano is. Is it just, you know, like a mountain that spews out magma from the Earth's core? Well, first of all, how would you know that if you were like in Neolithic times, right? So most likely they would think of a story of like, oh, there's a monster in there and it spews like this like fiery thing, this fiery water out of it, and that was one of the origins of like some volcano monsters. Typhon is like a good example of that. Typhon would also cause storms as well. So nowadays we if you like go according to like geology and what is it, meteorology, I guess, for weather, then there's probably like a correlation between like, you know, volcanoes and storms. But back then, if you weren't able to like witness those things without the help of like certain scientific tools, then the next best thing is mythology and monsters. So are they looking for a third? Just romancing all of the monsters in this presentation. But yeah, so that's like a good the main thing I wanted to get past here is that like oftentimes these are metaphors for like social fears and like natural fears. And this isn't even it. There's more. You see this in contemporary times as well. Is Typhon what Typhlosion is named after? I'm actually not sure. I feel like Typhlosion is well, you know what, typhoon comes from Typhon. And I feel like Typhlosion is typhoon and explosion. So technically, yes. So yeah, this is true for contemporary times, for modern times as well. So like this one I'm not super well versed in, but I have seen a couple of documentaries and like video essays that go into like, for example, Godzilla. This is a monster that was created out of fear of nuclear war, especially following World War II, right? So like that fear like manifested as this idea of like Godzilla, the king of monsters. I've seen a couple too on like vampires and zombies as like these are manifestations of like societal fears of like war, xenophobia, and sexuality. I think for the Dracula story in general, like specifically, that one is like, oh, this there's a little bit of racism in there too, by the way, but like, oh, this foreign entity that comes in and you know, like infects people with some kind of disease that changes them, you know. You could also go into like the sexual part of it too, of like, oh, he's he's inserting himself into women, you know. Very similar to with like zombies. Zombies like is this fear of like mass contagion. There's a little bit of racism in there. There's a little bit of xenophobia in there of like, oh, mass migration. It's these things that like, once again, this is me talking from the point of view that of someone that is like xenophobic, but like I'm not, but like bear with me here. But like, can you imagine someone being like, oh, like they look like us, but they're not us, you know? Like that's kind of like that thought process behind like zombies as a metaphor for that. Same thing with like terrorism too. So like a lot of these monsters, like both in like the ancient times and modern times, they're manifestations, they're metaphors for like things that we as a society fear. So with that all out of the way, now we can look at some Filipino monsters. And we can also kind of go into like, well, how do you think these monsters were made? How were they first like formulated and thought of in terms of like, you know, like who are the ancient Filipinos that are sitting around a campfire and talking about like, you know, like, oh, we fear XYZ, which is why there's a monster of ABC, you know. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay. So one last thing to kind of get out of the way before we look into some very specific monsters is that like there's this thing called animism. It's it's kind of like a style of religion, a style of belief system, and it's not just in the Philippines. It's kind of found everywhere. But basically, it's this belief that everything, including like rocks, trees, and dirt, they have an essence or a spirit or a life force. I guess the reason why I kind of hesitate when I talk about animism is that it's very easy for a lot of people to be like, oh, this is like a primitive belief that eventually like evolves into like more complex beliefs, like oh, animism turns into Shintoism, which turns into like monotheism, and that's not the best way to think of it, because it's almost like putting it on a hierarchy. It's like, you know, since we were talking about Pokemon, it's almost like saying animism is like the first evolution and then it evolves into something else, where that's not always the case. And you don't want to really put like different religions in a hierarchy. You don't want to be like, oh, eventually it's going to evolve into monotheism, which is the final evolution and is obviously the best, you know? Like you don't always want to do that. But that out of the way, you just want to know that animism is this belief that everything is animated, is as in like it has a life force to it. So you see this also in like Shintoism, for example, in Japanese Shintoism, that like everything has a life force to it. You know, that rock has a rock spirit attached to it. That river has a river spirit attached to it. So you also see this in like Greek mythology, where it's like they usually have some kind of different like nymph, right? There's a like a water nymph and a tree nymph, or a dryad and a narrate, and all of those things. And then same with like the yokai that I was talking about earlier. So yeah, nymphs. So yeah, these are examples of like how different cultures would see like I don't know, it's like not too big of a jump to go from like, oh, that rock has a spirit, to like that rock spirit has a specific name. Hello, Shiopi. Hello, welcome. We're talking about monsters today. Monsters. Those ghouls and monsters. So with that, the first creatures that we're going to be going over is so there's two. There's one called the capre, and there's one called a duende, which is sometimes, I don't know, people can correct me on this, it seems to be interchangeable with another creature called the nuno sapunso. But I'll start with the capre first. So this image actually has both. It has the capre and it has the duende here. So the capre is basically this large hairy man. It's a large hairy man that like its defining feature is that it is very hairy, is very large, usually has very dark hair, and it always smokes. Like it's always smoking a cigar. That is like a very oddly specific, but that is like one of the hallmarks of the capre, is that it smokes cigars, and it usually hangs out in trees. So it's usually associated. Yes, large hairy man. Exactly. So this artist chose to kind of portray them as like they have like patches of hair here and there, but you could also easily imagine it as some kind of like Bigfoot, you know, or some kind of like hominid. But the one of the big thing is that like very hairy, long dark hair, hangs out in trees, and smokes cigars. So I don't remember if I looked into, you know what, I need my cheat sheet. Let me get a cheat sheet real quick. I used to have this or not used to, I still have like this Word doc back when I was in college of like whenever I would look into historical sources, like whenever I would find like a mention of like the capre, I would write it down. So I need to take that out right now. Give me a second. Because I think in like the historical papers, like dating back to like the 15 and 1600s, they don't necessarily say that he smokes a cigar. It's more of like a contemporary thing. But let me capre. Oh, I guess it's not here. Huh. The capre was my favorite nature spirit because they post up near trees and just hang out, right? Isn't that cool? Like, because from here you kind of start to see like what the origins of this creature might be, right? I don't have a set example. It's more of like I want you guys to like kind of figure out your own examples. Loving the little guy in the corner. Are they up for adoption? You can't say that. He's a respected guy. he's a respected guy. I'll go over him too. That's the duende, or the nuno sapunso. Loving the I did a presentation on this one as a kid because I thought it was cool. Yeah, right. I think there's mention of smoking tobacco or smoke in general. Yeah, so I think, like I said, someone can correct me on this. There is an earlier reference to capres, and they're not specifically smoking. They are known as like creatures that are in the trees, but I'm thinking that they might have originated as just like tree spirits, right? Like I said, I want you to imagine that you're like an ancient Filipino or just an ancient person, and you like, you know, growing up in a culture that values animism, this idea that everything has a life force, you would guess that trees have a life force. And it's a little bit more obvious with trees because like they are living things. They do grow and develop over time. So it wouldn't have been too big of a jump for like ancient peoples to look at these growing trees and be like, oh yeah, there's a spirit in there. There's a just a spirit. So in the case of Filipinos, then it wouldn't be too big of a jump to assume like, oh, like that spirit's name is capre. It's a capre. And eventually with things like colonization and the introduction of like smoking tobacco and stuff like that. Well, actually, is that something that came over with colonization, or was smoking tobacco pre-colonial? I actually need to look into that. But yeah, like then you could start like adding it on to like the tree spirit that you already had in your mind, right? Didn't Maid mention the duende during your collab with her? She did. She did. So yeah, that's the capre. I'm gonna try and find like other references to this guy. But moving on to the duende, also known as the Nuno Sapunso, but I don't know if they are the same thing. I'm gonna need someone to correct me. The duende is just generally known as tobacco was introduced in 1592. Ah, so it's pre-colonial then. So mayhaps the ancient, Filipinos, they just associated that with the capre. So yeah, thank you for the check. So yeah, duendes are more like little goblins, little gnomes, little guys. In a lot of different cultures, you might see this existence of like little gnomes, little goblins, usually in the context of like, oh, I lost something. Wait, give me a second. I needed to burp. So, yeah, usually the like this idea of like little guys like they're usually associated with like, oh, I lost something, and like, realistically it was probably just the fact that you lost something. But it is also very easy for different cultures to be like, I didn't lose anything, a little guy took it from me. These little goblins, they're just taking my socks and they're stealing it, that's basically like what the duende is equivalent to in like Filipino culture. But it's also like this especially when we like look into this, what this word over here means, Nuno Sapunso, means little, like, or not little, but like old man of the anthill or the ant mound. And actually, if we go back to the very first slide, that's actually what this guy is. This is actually one of my own artworks. So yeah, he's supposed to be just like a little guy that sits on a mound. And the thing that is mostly associated with this guy is this phrase, tabi-tabi po. And I'm actually going to type it in chat right now. Tabi-tabi po. So what that is that if you're out taking a walk and you encounter like a mound or like an anthill, you it's good courtesy to say that phrase, tabi-tabi po, when passing by, because you never know if the old man of the anthill is there watching. And you don't, if you piss him off, he can make you sick or even end you. Yes, exactly. So that's the belief, is that like if you don't pay your respect, if you don't say tabi-tabi po as like a greeting, or I think someone correct me, I think tabi-tabi po is just more so like excuse me, right? Like I don't know if you would say that to another person, but I think you would just say like pasensya. But like to the duende, to the Nuno Sapunso, you would say like excuse me. And just like what Milky said, if you don't, he could end you. But he could also make you sick. And I think, where did I hear this from? I feel like if I didn't hear it from my parents, I might have heard it from someone else. But if you pee on an ant mound, you could get an STD. Like you could get like syphilis, basically. Like you could basically like get sickness on your item, so like, because that's like the ultimate disrespect, right? Like, why would you pee on that guy's little mound? Why would you pee on his home, right? I forgot where I heard that. It's got hands. So yeah, like you gotta pay your respects when you're passing by like these anthills and these mounds, or else like they're gonna rough you up, the spirits. So once again, like if you think about like what's the origin of this, it's very possible that like if any, like say that you're traveling and like a mishap happens, then that's also something that you can like attribute to like a little troll, a little like a little nature spirit. Tabi-tabi po only used for duendes, and yeah, I did get sick. Oh no. Exactly. See, we have proof positive here. If you don't pay your respects, you will get sick. Kill cars. No, don't kill the cars. So yeah, those are just some examples of like nature spirits. I think that came from earth mounds near trees. A lot of old folks used to just do it near trees and hence don't pee on the mounds. Exactly. So yeah, I like this idea too, that we're like if you guys have any ideas of like where this these stories might have come from, other than just people witnessing it. Then yeah, I kind of like thinking of like, oh yeah, what were the origins of some of these stories, But yeah, thank you, Deviation. Thank you. So yeah, those are a couple of examples of nature spirits. We also have some more that are like a little bit more malevolent, at least at first glance. And this one is very interesting to me. There's one called by the way, this is gonna be in like another language that I don't well, not that I speak Tagalog either, but like I'm not super used to Ilocano, so but there is a creature called the batibat, but in Tagalog it's also known as the bangungot. If you for those that don't speak a Filipino language, it might be easy to pronounce this as like bangungot, but that's not that's not how you say that. This like NG use its own kind of like word combination. I forgot the like linguistic term for it, but this would be bangungot. Bangungot. So not bangungot. But yeah, so there's a creature called the batibat, and kind of similar in my opinion to the capre, but a little bit different too. So this is also a tree spirit, but it's specifically from like Ilocano folklore, which is in the north, I want to say. I'm pronouncing it right? Oh, thank God. That would have been funny if I was like, so this is the ban gun got? Get gunned. Is the batibat single? I know, right? Isn't she? You know what they say about thick thighs? They save lives. Oh, bangungot is also the word for nightmare. I actually didn't realize that. I'm done now. You can keep going. You can keep going. Thick thighs save lives, guys. Remember that. But specifically, like the origin of this, that I've read about is that if a tree is like cut down and you make it into the support for like a house, that's kind of what this illustration is showing here. Then the spirit that was originally like taking residence in the tree, they're now gonna be haunting that house. So so like you gotta be careful with like what trees you use in like building your house, because it might have a batibat in it, a bangungot. Thick thighs save lives. Taking write that down. Write that down. The band gun cat. Oh my gosh, that's so good. But so going more into the batibat. So how does it haunt the people of the household? Well, it sits on them. And that's why it's usually drawn so big, right? It's kind of like an explanation for sleep paralysis, because if any of you have never gone through sleep paralysis, first of all, consider yourself lucky. I've gone through it like back in like my 20s. It's kind of terrible, but there's this sensation of like you're not quite awake, you're not quite asleep, but you can't move. It also feels like you're in between a dream and being awake, but you know, basically the long and short of it is that you can't move. People sometimes talk about sleep paralysis demons. I've never seen any kind of entity when I've gotten sleep paralysis, but that is another thing, is that people might see like something scary or nightmarish when it happens. Yeah, it sits on them. Yeah, I was gonna make the joke that like, you know, some people might pay some good money for that, right? Some people might want the batibat in their life, right? But yeah, so this is like this is a way to kind of explain like sleep paralysis, but the whole deal is that like this nature spirit is haunting you for using its home as a support for your house. So it sits on people, and I think the way that you're supposed to counteract it is by like wiggling your toes or biting your thumb or something like that. But yeah, that kind of like goes into that as well. If I recall, this one can also asphyxiate you while you're paralyzed because they sit on your chest. Yeah, they sit directly on your chest. So, oh, nice, Milky, you got it. You got the star. You can't move, and you can see the demon at the end of the bed or in the corner of the room, according to my mother's experience. Yeah. So like that is like a common thing with like sleep paralysis. Yeah, good job, Milky. You got the timing just right, even with like there is a slight latency delay. So wow. Man, this one's interesting to think about, because like for me, I'm thinking about like what was this batibat's life before its tree got cut down, right? Was it just like a peaceful little spirit that was just like chilling? And then suddenly its whole house got like uprooted, quite literally uprooted, cut, and used as support for someone else's house, and she's like, ah, no, hell no. No, why are you attacking people? Oh no. My mother also said wiggle your toes. Yeah. Oh no, Milky's on the attack. You guys can attack each other. Not me though. Don't attack me. You can hug me. You can give me a hug. Ah yes, the slight 30-second delay. Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay. Just a teensy bit. That is intentional. There's like a setting for it. Ah no! Why would you throw that at me? No. Why? I'm just giving you an edumacation. Thank you for the redeem. But yeah, so that's the Batibot. I think about her a lot. Why am I being victimized? Oh no, it's because Milky's attacking everyone. She's on the warpath. No, not the bombs! I don't think, is there a command for bomb? There's like a manual one. I could show you guys real quick. I know I can do the command. Look. See? Where's Milky? You gotta, there we go. You guys got, oh no, I got beeplebees too! Uh-oh. Okay, if you guys misbehave, wait, where's mine again? If you guys misbehave, just know that you can get pinned. Is this me? This is me. There you go. Look. That's what's gonna happen if you guys misbehave, okay? So keep that in mind. Ay! Friendly fire. Bibinka and Bibinka violence, nor. Ah, not the farts. There we go. You can fart there. I mean, wait, not on me. But that was supposed to be disciplinary action. Okay, this guy might be single. You guys might. Oh no, there's gonna be an ad break. There's gonna be an ad break in like a minute. I went to attack and accidentally pushed her out of the way of the bomb. Aw, kisses. Thank you. Yeah, there's an ad break incoming, so just know that we can put you guys in recess while the ad break plays. But for now, you can appreciate the tikbalang. This is gonna be our next monster, our next guy. It's a horse. It's a horse-headed dude. I like the claws though. Oh no, you guys are attacking each other. Okay, I think this is a sign that you guys need some recess time. Thick balang. Yo. Okay, let's put you guys out to dry. Well, we'll give you guys some recess time. And I'll see you guys after the ad break. For those that aren't subbed, don't worry, I'm not gonna be talking or nothing. There's actually my break time too. I need some water. So I'll see you guys after the ad break. Be nice to each other. Welcome back. Or at least I'm assuming you guys are back. I'll give it 30 seconds since there is a little bit of a delay. But yeah, I saw you guys being nice to each other. See, you guys have it in you. You can be nice to each other. Oh, and thanks for joining the class, Kangkong. Thank you. But yeah, see, you guys are being nice to each other. See, doesn't that feel nice? Doesn't it feel nice? Beeplebees is just eating the threads of reality as per usual, as is tradition. Okay, let's get back into it, shall we? Alright, let's get back to class. We were just talking about the thick balong, right? Okay, So yeah, this is the Tikbalang, but it also has a couple other names which are all very similar. So Tigbalan, Tikbalan, all those things. I know. Why are you attacking me? My little avatar. He's gone. He's just a burning memory. She's just a burning memory. So yeah, in a lot of representations of the Tikbalang, it's usually like a horse-headed person, humanoid. Sometimes they're shown with like really like long legs. Sometimes they're shown with claws. Sometimes they have like horns and stuff. But typically, it's horse-headed person. That's like the typical thing. So it's almost like a reverse centaur in a way, right? Never accuse me of being nice. BoJack Horseman. You know what? Someone told me one time that like technically doesn't that make BoJack Horseman a Tikbalang? And that like changed my life forever. I lay awake at night thinking about it. But yeah, this is a Tikbalang. This one also has like a lot of different kind of like stories and ideas surrounding it. Especially, I think the common thing that I usually see with this one is that it's usually to blame if you get lost in the woods, which feels like something that is like it kind of makes sense culture and nature wise, right? Let's say that you live in a place that is surrounded by forest. It's pretty easy to get lost in the forest depending on how like thick and like how big it is, right? So once again, instead of like blaming just nature or your own like navigation skills for getting lost in the forest, you could blame it on a trickster. You can blame it on a demon known as the Tikbalang, right? There is also a very interesting documentary. It is just by like a slightly controversial channel, but there is this channel called the Aswang Project. And it talks about Filipino mythology, and it's usually pretty cool because they try to also do what I'm doing, basically, of like going into like the historical records, seeing mentions of it, and just trying to figure out the origin of it. But the reason why it's a little bit controversial is because the guy that runs it is not Filipino. He's like Canadian, like Scottish Canadian or something like that, and there was just like a bit of controversy with the fact that like he wasn't necessarily trying to hide the fact that he wasn't Filipino, but he didn't exactly like put that out there to be like, oh hey, you know, like I'm just someone that happens to be a fan of like Filipino culture and Filipino mythology. There's not too much of a like, you know, like if you're interested in that culture, yeah, by all means, like study it and stuff. But I think people were seeing issue with the fact that like it felt like he was kind of hiding the fact that he wasn't Filipino. So yeah, it gets a little bit into like the you know, what is appreciation versus like appropriation type thing. But like I did find their videos to be very interesting because he did a lot of like the interesting research, and he did pull in experts, authors, people that like knew a little bit about the mythology as well. So you know, like, you know, take with what you will in terms of like I'm not saying that I support the person or like hate the person, but just know that. Just know that about that resource. But in that video, he had an episode kind of focusing on the Tikbalang, which I thought was very interesting because one of the interesting things about Tikbalangs is that horses are not native to the Philippines. So why is there a spirit that has a horse head? So the person that like made the Aswang project, they came up with a very interesting theory. I don't think it's him that came up with the theory, but he did like, you know, honts. He did kind of talk about it. He I'm sure other people thought of this theory as well, but like one thing is that prior to colonization, it's not like the Philippines was just its own little island that didn't like talk to, well, first of all, it's a lot of islands, but it wasn't this little archipelago where they didn't talk to anyone else around them. They traded with the Japanese, they traded with the Chinese, they traded with Malaysians and Indonesians, and they traded with the people around them. And not even just physical things. They would trade ideas, religions, and you know, like things like mythology and things like creatures. You're right. Horses aren't native here. Yeah. Horses aren't native to the Philippines. So why is there a horse-headed demon, you know, in the folklore? So one theory is that like this probably came from India, from like Buddhist and Hindu beliefs. There's a specific deity named Hayagriva, which I believe comes from like Hindu belief, and it's a horse-headed deity. we do know that Buddhism and Hinduism made its way over to the Philippines because there are gold statues. They're called like the golden taras. These are like Buddhist and Hindu statues. They can be found in the Philippines. So if ideas like Hinduism and Buddhism can make it over there to those islands, then probably monsters as well, or like ideas of monsters. So it's very possible that like the tikbalang is probably a carryover from that time period. It is also possible that the tikbalang didn't necessarily have a horse head until after colonization, when they started bringing horses over. Like the Spaniards would like bring horses over. So that's another possibility. It could have been like pre-colonial. It could have been a consequence of colonialism, because I do actually have a source that talks about the tikbalang. But it was called like the Tig, like TIG, like Tigbalan. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. So it's from a source called the Customs of the Tagalogs, and it's like it dates back to like the 1500s. So this priest, I think it's a priest, a Spanish priest, said that there is a demon called Sitan, a ghost called Vibit, and a phantom called the Tigbalang. It doesn't say anything about it having a horse head. It just calls it a phantom. So it's very possible that like this used to just be like Tigbalang used to just be a word for a spirit or a demon. And eventually, due to like foreign influences, either colonization or trade, eventually people started associating it with horses, with horse heads. The reason why, I'm actually not super sure, but it could have something to do with one of the myths that surround the Tigbalang is that one way that you could tame it or even befriend it is you can tame it by plucking the 3 thickest spines on their mane over here. But I think I've also heard stories. Hello, Mega Bronson. Hello, welcome. We're talking about this horse guy over here. It's not BoJack Horseman, but it is a horse guy. But I think I've also heard stories where like if you race against a Tikbalang and win, it will actually befriend you. Or even like swear allegiance to you. So if there's this theme of like racing against it and you encounter an animal that is known for being very fast, so like, a horse, then maybe that's also where that connection came from, right? So who's to say that if hedgehogs weren't introduced to the Philippines first, the Tigbalang might have been a hedgehog guy, because gotta go fast. But yeah. So another thing is, so we were talking about how people associate Tikbalangs with like getting lost in the woods. So that's like another thing that's like blamed on Tikbalangs is like, oh, if you get lost, it's the trick. It's the trick of the Tikbalang. And what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to turn your clothes or your shirt inside out. That's one way to kind of like get past the illusion, basically. Why is that Tikbalang kind of hot? My man. Let's see, challenge to the horseman to a horse race. They say it needs to ride a horse. Exactly, right? Because it seems like I think that's also what makes it such a like fantastical story, is that like, well, can you race against, are you so fast that you can race against a horse? What about a horseman, I think that's what kind of adds flavor to that tale of like, oh, I'm so fast that I could race against a Tikbalang and win. I can race against this literal horseman that is built for speed and win, That's what adds to that fantasy. Google's more images of this guy. Why are they all so shredded? For real, you guys should like Google. You should Google the Tikbalang. They're literally all really shredded. I think you can attribute it to just being like, oh yeah, they're known for speed and like being fit, right? But I feel like there are people that are also like, hear me out. Fear of the ripped horseman. So yeah, that's the Tikbalang. He's not technically a trickster spirit, but like he does trick people, so there's that association. But yeah, so that's the Tikbalang. What's next on the... Oh, okay. We're going into space for this one. Maybe I should change my outfit. Give me a second. Give me a second. Don't cry. I'm still here. Space! We're in space, the last place uncorrupted by capitalism. Spice? If I saw Tikbalang, I wouldn't run from it. beeplebees is unlocking something about themselves today. Are you sure that this is only a today thing? I feel like cute fit, thank you. I think I made this outfit. Wait, give me a second. I need to like do some adjustments. Um. Here we go. 300 to 20. Uh-oh. No, I didn't mean to change my costume. Oh no. Aw, crap. I accidentally changed. I changed the hotkey. Now it's gonna be really hard for me to. Wait. Maybe if I. Okay, we're good. We're good. $300. $220. Woo! There we go. I changed my gravity. Look, now we're in spice. That's what you think. This was already unlocked. That's what I that's what I felt. Is the guy available to be petted? Yeah, totally. He's very big though. That's one thing. All the monster doinkers coming out for this stream. I was also wondering why they made the horseman hot. Yippee! Space Bear. Yeah, I feel like a lot of the people that drew them are like, oh yeah, we gotta make him fearsome, right? It's like the Lucifer statue. Wasn't there a story about like a Lucifer statue where it was like, that's too hot. We need another guy to make the Lucifer statue. And they made him hotter. It's like, no, he's supposed to be feared, not hot. But anyway, so we're out in space now. And we're gonna be talking about the Bakunawa. The Bakunawa. So this is a serpent that is said to cause lunar eclipses. So it's a serpent that's so big that it's it craves the moon and wants to eat the moon. It's a little bit like beeplebees eating eating time itself, as well as the cars in the parking lot. Furry awakening time. So yeah, it's there's also a chance that it's connected to like I said earlier, certain things like religion and like ideas were also traded back and forth between the Philippines and the rest of Southeast Asia during this time. So same with the Bakunawa. It's very likely that it's inspired by or like influenced by like the idea of Nagas, which if you guys don't know what Nagas are, they're kind of like these snake beings. Depending on the culture, you know, they might differ. They might be entirely snake, whereas they might also be like half human, half snake. But they're basically like these serpent figures that you see all over Southeast Asia as well. Especially if that place has like Buddhist or Hindu influences. So Bakunawa might be connected to that, and it's said to be like a cause for lunar eclipses. Because once again, let's put yourself in the place of someone who is witnessing a lunar eclipse for the first time, or even a solar eclipse. Which, by the way, don't directly look at a solar eclipse, but you know, for ancient peoples that didn't have the tools to know that, oh, it's just the Earth's shadow going over the sun, or wait, for the lunar one, it is the Earth's shadow going over the moon, right? So but for those that didn't know that, it almost seems like there's a creature devouring the moon. That's actually why, if we go back to Apep, when we were talking about like ancient Egypt at the very beginning of the stream, we're talking about Apep, who is said to like swallow the sun. This was most likely because Egyptians would see solar eclipses. For a lot of cultures, seeing a solar or a lunar eclipse is super terrifying, because it's like, oh, this thing that's been in the sky since forever, yeah, it's gone. It's gone, and now the Earth is dark. Or in the case of like a lunar eclipse, the moon is now red. It's like this really scary red color. So, you know, what else to do than think of a story and like think of like an explanation for that. I think that's why I like mythology so much, is because like if you think about it in the point of view of like indigenous and like ancient cultures, this is their science. It's not just, it is story time, but it is also their way of seeing and exploring the world. So in this regard, you have the Bakunawa, this like gigantic serpent that is said to eat the moon and cause eclipses. So what would happen is when these ancient Filipinos would witness the eclipse, they were fearful, but they also wanted to do something about it. So typically, in the event of a God dang it, Griffith. In the event of an eclipse, usually people will bang pots and pans together, or they will make a lot of noise, or they'll yell at it, or they'll basically make a lot of noise in order to scare off whatever they think is eating the moon. Or the sun in the case of solar eclipses. So this isn't just in the Philippines either. You see it all over the world that like usually there's some kind of like action that you can take in order to like scare away the monster that's eating the sun or the moon. So typically for an eclipse, you want to like bang pots and pans. You want to make as much noise as possible so that you're scaring away the Bakunawa. There's also a myth associated with the Bakunawa that it's sometimes purported to be ancient, but it's not actually ancient. It's actually a little bit more modern. But it's this myth called like Bakunawa and the Seven Moons, and the myth says that like, oh, originally Earth actually had 7 moons, but the Bakunawa actually ate 6 of them, but the 7th one was never eaten, and that's why we still have a moon. I don't remember if the story is like someone rescued the 7th moon, but just know that story exists basically. What else? So there's actually a similar one called the Minokawa. Minokawa is very similar, except that it's a bird. It's a bird with giant feathers, or giant like blade-like feathers. Let me actually look up Minokawa, because this is from a specific culture. Where is it from? It's Bagobo. Okay, so this is in This is, I think, in Davao. It's like in the south, basically. So this is specific to a culture called like the Bagobo people. But yeah, so that's the Minokawa. So same thing, but it's a bird. Basically, there's this idea. Hux is eating 6 of the moons. I think I have art of the Minokawa, but I'm kind of too lazy to bring it up at the moment. Maybe at the very end. Maybe at the very end I'll show it to you guys. But yeah. So, it's either a serpent or a bird that eats the moon. Oh no, you make a lot of noise. You gotta be like, hey you, get away from there. That's what you gotta say. Ooh, okay, we're gonna get into some juicy stuff. I should probably do a warning. Sorry, I should probably do some kind of warning that the next slide, there's a little bit of gore, there's a little bit of messiness, there's a little bit of blood. So if you're squeamish about that kind of thing, feel free to come back in like, I want to say 15 to 20 minutes. I might spend a while on this next slide because it's actually one of my favorite topics. So, yeah. Get ready. I'm going to switch to that slide in 3, 2, 1. Ba-bam. Was the Bakunawa a Babine Maybe that's the new mythology, right? The new headcanon for the Babine Cubs. Is that you guys are so hungry all the time. That's why you're eating the cars. Okay, so we have more malevolent monsters. We have some more like scary ones. These ones, like, at least with the Capre and the Batibot, it's like, oh, they have a reason for being kind of intimidating and scary. Like the Batibot, they literally like took her home down, and that's why she's like haunting people. But these are a little bit more like, these are a bit more evil. But there's some really interesting stuff about them. So there's 2 monsters here. One of them is called the Manananggal. So it's sometimes it's also known as an aswang, but it's this like vampire witch creature over here that can separate her body. And there's also the Chanak. So that's spelled like, it looks like it's pronounced Tianak, but like it would actually be pronounced Chanak, like ch. So Chanak. And it's these like demon babies over here. All right. So I'll go a little bit into both of them. So the Manananggal is it's like I said, it's like a witch vampire thing, and the cool, what I consider the cool thing is that at night, so in the daytime it just looks like a regular woman, and these are always typically like women or female presenting people. So in the daytime they look normal. In the nighttime, their upper body splits from their lower body, and the upper body grows wings like a bat. And it flies around at night, and their prey is fetuses, is babies. Oh no. And what it does, I think another name for this is it Tik Tik? Which is named after like the sound it makes, the sound that its tongue makes. Because another thing about the Manananggal is that it has a long tongue that it uses to extract fetuses from pregnant women. So what it does is that it leaves its bottom half, it hides it somewhere, because that's actually like its weakness, its bottom half. But the top half, it goes around into the night and it flies. It lands on the roof, and back then, like when these stories were a little bit more or it like depends on like what kind of house they have, but oftentimes like they would have people would have these huts that have straw roofs. So if something is resting on top of the roof, it can actually see inside. And the manananggal actually has a tongue that can actually go through the roof. So it would sit on the roof and it would look inside the house. And if it sees a pregnant woman sleeping, then it's seen its prey. And what it does is it uses its long tongue to basically snake its way into the house, and it inserts itself right into the pregnant woman's belly button. So from there, it basically just like slurps the baby, the fetus, and that's its lunch. That's what it eats. So yeah, that's the manananggal. It's the baby eater, but I think it also like eats entrails from what I remember. It's like viscera, entrails, and babies. So that's its like main food. To get rid of a manananggal, you actually have to find the lower half, and I believe you put salt on it. You put salt on the lower half, like where it's cut off here, and that's actually how to destroy the bottom half. So the top half, when it returns to the lower body, it's not there anymore. It can't rest. So when the sun comes up, its body actually like burns away. It's like a vampire basically. So yeah, that's the way to counteract the manananggal. So what I found really interesting is the history of it, because if you look into the historical record, you see a different name. It's referred to as the magtatanggal. Tanggal means to like separate. She's kind of cool. Yeah, I think so too. I think this one is really cool in my opinion because it's just so unique. But it actually does also have an origin. So tanggal means to like separate. But it also has like an equivalent in Malaysia, and I think Indonesia as well. I'm actually not sure, but there's a monster called the penanggalan, which, you know, if you look at the words, they kind of seem similar. So manananggal, magtatanggal, or tangal, and then the penanggalan. So it's like this multi-syllable thing for what is essentially like very similar to one another. But the penanggalan, it's more of like a floating head with like entrails. So, you know, very kind of similar, right? Like floating upper body with like, you know, body parts hanging out. I think I saw a show I watched, except it drank the fluid the baby floats in instead of eating it. Yeah. So I think it's also known to eat like viscera, so like just innards basically. So yeah. Like I said, like all these monsters, they have different versions in different like parts of the Philippines, so it all makes sense. But yeah, going back to that one person that makes documentaries about like Filipino mythology, the Aswang Project, he did a whole video on like the Manananggal and the Aswang, and he was talking about like one possible theory to its origin is that before the Philippines was colonized by Spain, not every community but lots of communities had women in power. They also had like women priestesses, and sometimes they were also like trans and gay priestesses as well. So one theory is that, well, not exactly theory, but like one thing about that is that like when the Spaniards came over and tried to introduce Christianity and Catholicism, they didn't like the idea of like these priestesses, because one, that's like a religious rival to them, like it's a rival to like Christianity, but also in kind of a, especially in like old Spanish culture, it would most likely be very misogynistic, very like man-centered, right? So they also didn't like the idea of just women predominantly in power as priestesses. These women were, depending on the it depends on the language. I think in Cebuano they would be called the babaylanes, or the babaylan, and I think in Tagalog it was the Catalonan. But basically they were these priestesses that were like they were in power both religiously and sometimes politically. So when the Spaniards came, they didn't like that. So they would actually try to villainize these priestesses as being witches, or at worst, they would accuse them of being manananggal, kind of like an actual witch hunt. It's like, oh, that person that like is in power, she's actually a witch. Not even just a witch, she's like a witch vampire, and she's gonna eat your babies if you don't listen to Catholicism. So that's one theory. There's no well, not no, like it's a good theory, but don't take it necessarily as like, oh, that is the answer, because there might be a whole bunch of different ways that we arrive to this conclusion. Another theory that I have that I think I've seen other people say it before, but one theory that I personally have is in the Philippines they have flying foxes. Do you guys know what those are? The flying foxes? They're basically gigantic bats, and I think they're very adorable. I'm gonna show you. There we go. Oh, look at them. But they're huge. One thing about them is that they're like humongous. Look at him. His face is just like he's like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this?" Wait, can I show you guys Wagugas? Get Wagugast. Get Wagugast, idiot. Look, isn't he so cute? He's eating a banana. Wagugast Jr. Get Wagugast. Flying Fox, Philippines. Yeah, look. Here, there's like the motorcycle. This one, I feel like there is a little bit of like shenanigans happening with the perspective, but that is still pretty big. Like they're really huge. Oh, here we go. This is a good one. Look at how big these bats are. I feel like he's not having a good time. It's like, why are you holding him like that? Aren't they half the size of humans when they stand up? Yeah, exactly. Like this is a good size comparison. But yeah, they're huge. That's a baby? Then that makes it freaking huge. But, so, this is my theory. Look at how they look when they're flying. Doesn't that kind of look like a manananggal? Doesn't it kind of look like that? Right? See? I don't know. I feel like that's probably like another origin, right? They go up to 4 feet tall! Oh my gosh. I think they use flying foxes in the goth club meme. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. They're so cute. I think they have like the cutest faces. They're like puppies. See, look at that. Look at that. See, doesn't it kind of look like that? This one makes me sad. That one is like, I don't know if that one's still alive. Poor guy. I think I like this picture because you can see how like basically their wings are basically like enlarged like hands. Basically, it's like the, if you look at your hand and you look at the membrane in between your fingies, it's basically that. But this one, it looks like it's it's always giving you like high fives. Basically, definitely looks like a vampire for sure. I love that you know that. Yeah, that one is really cute. The one where it's like, it's basically all these bats hanging out, but you flip it right side up instead of upside down, and they're just chilling in the goth club. Cute little vestie. Yeah, exactly. I think they're very adorable. But also, I feel like, you know, that might be like the origin. Someone back in the ancient Philippines were like looking at a flying fox in the air, and they're like, "Oh my gosh." Oh my gosh, it's the manananggal. So yeah, that's the origin of that one. We also have the tiyanak, which one way to remember it, I don't know if this is part of the actual etymology, there's the actual origin of the word, but the word for stomach or tummy in Tagalog is tiyan. It's spelled like this too. It's Tiyan, so tiyan. And the word for child in Tagalog is anak. So stomach child, tiyan anak, tiyanak. So that's one way to remember it, but actually it seems like that would also be the etymology. But I'm not entirely sure. But what this is, the tiyanak, is basically a demon baby. What it does, it pretends to be like a regular baby, kind of like how the manananggal pretends to be like a regular woman. So this pretends to be a baby, and let's say that you're out hiking and you hear the cry of a baby. So you're tempted to like go check it out. Like, why is there a crying baby in the middle of the wilderness, right? You pick it up, and suddenly it turns into a demon, and it eats you. So that's the tiyanak. It's a demon child, and it lures people over by crying, and then it eats people. And they say that it's actually the spirit of either an aborted or unbaptized baby. The unbaptized part is definitely a carryover from like colonization. It's definitely like the Spanish priest being like, you better baptize your kid, you better do it, or else they're gonna end up as these demon babies. So you better baptize them right now. Right now. Put them in the water. And then probably also the same with like the like aborted like baby thing of like, oh, they probably don't want you like aborting a child, right? So they will say that like, oh, if you do that, then it's gonna turn into a demon baby. So don't do it. Don't do it. One thing that I found really interesting, same with like the historical records of the Manananggal, is they do mention the this creature called the Pachanak. Let me see, I think it's that same the customs of the Tagalog, which is like from like the 1500s, the 16th century. But instead of being the soul of a baby, it's actually the soul of a woman who dies in childbirth. So that's why I'm not sure if this is actually like the etymology, the whole like stomach child thing, because it comes from this word pachanak. So it still might be, you know, but it's just interesting that it went from like the soul of a woman who died in childbirth to now it's the soul of the baby that died. So yeah, that one I don't know like quite what to make of that, how that development happened, but I do feel like it probably had something to do with like Spanish colonialization, with them being like, you better baptize that baby. So yeah. So I just thought that was pretty interesting, and both of these creatures are very interesting in that like they both pretend to be something, but then they turn into like their true demonic forms. So yeah, that's the Manananggal, that's the Chanak. Be careful when you hear a crying baby. You know, I think I've heard other mythology too about like, or other stories about the Manananggal too, about how like if you accidentally like marry a Manananggal, you like become one as well. But those ones I like I haven't really looked into as much. But I also feel like that also goes into like the typical like vampire mythos, right? Of like, oh, you could become a vampire if it like bites you, you know? So but this one is more like, I feel like I need to see more romantic stories about like about lovers, you know, a Manananggal lover. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's move on. Ooh, so there's another one of my art from like back in the day. This was from like 2020, I want to say. So this one is actually from a very specific culture, but also from a very specific event. This is a monster that originates from World War II. So it's a bit modern. Yeah, World War II was like a long time ago, like relative to us, but in the grand scheme of like Filipino of like history in general, it's pretty recent. So to know that like not all of these monsters have like ancient origins, I don't know, to me that's really interesting, because to me that opens up the possibility of like, you know, what are more recent monsters that, you know, come from our experiences. So I'll talk about this guy. This is the Pasatsat. So this is a monster that originates from like World War II era Pangasinan, which is another part of the Philippines. They also have their own culture, their own language. And basically, it looks like a person that's wrapped in what's called a banig, which is like a bamboo mat. And usually you use this mat to like sit on. But basically what had happened is that during World War II, so many people were dying, either due to famine or just straight up like the warfare itself, that there weren't enough coffins to like bury the dead. So what they would do is they would instead like wrap the dead bodies in a banig, in the bamboo mat. And from there, this idea of like a ghost that resembled that. Yeah, this one's pretty grim. Yeah. So like, but from there, that's where like the origin of the pasatsat came from. Pasatsat, by the way, comes from a word meaning to stab, which is apparently like what you're supposed to do if you ever encounter like a walking bamboo mat. You're supposed to stab it. After that, the spirit dies and the mat unravels, but instead of leaving a corpse, it leaves behind the stench of death. So it's pretty grim. And that's why like when I this is from like I think I did like an October drawing challenge where it was like draw a monster each day. So this one, like this is one of my artworks. That's why I chose to draw them kind of sad, because it's like it's not their fault that they ended up as like a monster or like a ghost, right? So it's like, oh, someone please, I need my soul to pass on into the afterlife. Someone please stab me. So it's like, oh, poor guy. So yeah, that's the pasatsat, and like I said, I think it's interesting because it's a relatively modern monster. We were talking about like Godzilla and vampires and zombies and stuff. And I just like this phenomenon of like we're still making monsters to this day. It's just a bamboo stink bomb. Why would you say that about him? He's already so sad. He's just so sad. He's so kawawa. That's another piece of vocabulary for you guys. Kawawa is like pitiful. I don't know. I feel like I've heard kawawa also being used for like babies, like when they're crying. It's like, oh, kawawa siya. Like they're so it has like a connotation of like cuteness to it, but it's the more direct translation is like pitiful. It's like, oh, this is so pitiful. But I don't know. This guy, to me, the pasatsat is a little bit more kawawa. He's a little bit more like, oh, poor guy. He didn't deserve it. He didn't know any better. So yeah, that's a relatively modern one. We're actually coming into the end, by the way, the end of the presentation, because from here, how do we reimagine these monsters and these folk creatures? Once again, I had a very interesting conversation with I think it was Archaic Bro in Randencord, because he was talking about how like, oh, sometimes people like to reimagine some of these monsters. And for me as a Phil Lamb, I was like, oh, I don't really see a problem with like reimagining monsters, especially if especially in this one. So this is like a children's story. It's called whoever knows Visaya, please correct my pronunciation. It's either Kalipay or Kalipay. The tiny stick tick. Basically, she's a manananggal, and it's a children's story about a friendly manananggal that like it's almost like those like friendly child like stories about like vampires. It's like, oh, we only drink blood from cows, you know. It's like that. I think in this story, because I have a copy of it, the tiny stick tick, she only drinks from yeah. So that's kind of like the topic that I want to talk about, Milky, is like how okay is this reimagining, right? Because as far as I know, I don't know if this person is Phil Lamb or even a part of the diaspora. I think they might actually just be from the Philippines, but it's an interesting topic because yeah, this is reimagined as like, oh, child friendly, right? And here, the Manananggal is also in this video game for SMT, Shin Megami Tensei 5. So this is the Manananggal, and I kind of intentionally put these two against each other because it's like, oh, there's the child-friendly, and then there's like the sexy version, you know? Tiniest Tick Tick was my nickname in high school. Oh my gosh. I hate that. Excuse me. So yeah, like I think that's a big thing with like kind of reimagining this. Like I said, for me as a film, I at first saw no issue with it because people do that all the time. They reimagine monsters to be like friendlier or like more relatable to people nowadays. But Archaic Bro did tell me like a really good argument that, like I said at the very beginning, for a lot of people these traditions are still alive and they're not superstition or folktales. So it's almost like messing with like a piece of their reality. You know, of saying like, oh yeah, you know, the Manananggal that ate your family member's, you know, child. Oh yeah, that's actually just the tiniest tick tick. You know, that's actually just like this friendly little guy. And I think that's when I started to kind of like realize what the point that they were making, right? Of like, oh yeah, for some people this is like, not only is it like a lived experience or like a part of their culture that's kind of being messed with, for some people like these are actual monsters that you should be respecting, right? It's part of the oratorical history, so it's kind of iffy when it's gentrified. Yeah, exactly. So that's why like I still like this tale as because what I like about this one too is that it's also a English to Cebuano book, and of course you can do that with other books as well. But it's also like a good introduction for films into like just these folk tales as well. But yeah, there is like a fair argument to be made that like it feels like gentrification. It feels like you're kind of changing the story. You're changing the lived experiences of people. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of the case with like these two too, because this one is like she's still scary and a monster, but she's also like, come on, hear me out. She kind of hot though, you know? So there's that. There's also, so this is actually a screenshot from a show that multiple people have recommended me because they know how much I like mythology and like folklore and stuff. It's from a show called Trece, and it is a comic. It's a comic that got animated into a Netflix series, and it's all about like Filipino folklore. And this is the Tikbalang. This is like their rendition of the Tikbalang, which I think is like a pretty cool rendition because now you have like, you still have the horse head, but now you even have like the horse legs, but now you got like spines and horns, and they have like this really cool outfit. They got spears. Yeah, Trece. Yeah. The Netflix show. I do want to watch it. I want to watch it sometime. But yeah. There's other monsters too in Trece. I still have to like really look at it. And this one is also like an interesting case because like here they're treated as like they're not I think in the mythology itself they say that like, oh yeah, the Tikbalang can be tamed if you do this, this, and this. And I think here in the show, like I said, I haven't watched it, so I don't know for sure, but they are a force to be reckoned with. Hello, Gojikins, hello. So they are a force to be reckoned with, but I think some of them do befriend the people. I don't know. I probably shouldn't be talking about a show that I haven't watched yet, but I think I don't know if it's in Trece, but I think there's also another story that imagines the Tikbalang as like, you know, they love to race, right? So it makes sense if they started getting onto motorcycles. Because I think I saw like a comic panel where it's a Tikbalang that is like on a motorcycle. And it's like, that's such a cool way to rethink their love for like racing, right? A horse to be reckoned with. Hunts. So yeah, it's an interesting conversation to have when it comes to like modern monsters, because there's modern monsters that like, you know, came about during modern times, but then there's like these modern reimaginings. Oh, that's another thing I was gonna say is what happened with the Manananggal and this whole idea of like making them like nicer. You see that too with not even just Filipino mythology, with Greek mythology. Have you guys heard about the myth of like Persephone? She is I guess we're gonna take a little detour into like Greek mythology, but like in Greek mythology, there's this figure named Persephone, and she is the wife of Hades, who is the god of the underworld. There's lots of different media out there, like Lore Olympus, like Hades, the video game that like goes into the story, right? In the original mythology, Persephone, she's the daughter of Demeter, who is the goddess of like springtime and like making things bloom and grow, fertility and all those things. She's the daughter of that goddess. And one day, Hades, who's the god of the underworld, opens up the underworld and swallows her up. She takes her against her will into the underworld and basically takes her to be his wife. So that's part of the original mythology. And then Demeter, who, like I said, she's the goddess of spring and the goddess of making things grow. She goes into despair knowing that her daughter has been taken from her. So she curses the land to become like cold and barren, basically how winter and fall is. However, once this happens, Zeus, the king of the gods, he interferes and he says like, okay, Hades, you gotta bring back her daughter or else she's gonna make the entire earth dead, basically. So Hades agrees, but what he does is he has Persephone eat a couple of pomegranate seeds. I think she eats like 6 or something, which means that because she ate the food of the dead, she has to return to the land of the dead 1 month per each seed she ate. So because she ate 6 seeds, she has to return for 6 months out of the year. I don't remember if it was 6 or if it was another number, but because of that, that means that Persephone, like for most of the year, she's with her mother. And the earth is blooming, so that's summer and spring, right? But for 6 months out of the year, she has to go back down into the underworld, and that's when Demeter curses the land again to become barren, and that's fall and winter. So yeah, something like that. Yeah, Persephone, we gotta normalize kidnapping. Say less. Oh no, pomegranate lady. But yeah, so that's the origin of that. What started happening with that story, though, because clearly in the mythology, she's taken against her will to become Hades' wife. But a lot of people, there's this thing that kind of happened in recent times on Tumblr of all of things, where people were saying that, like, actually, Persephone walked willingly into into Hades' abode, into the underworld. She did it willingly. She was actually bored with her life as Demeter's daughter. So she willfully went into the underworld, and she became the queen of the underworld. And you could see this because the Greeks would refer to her as kore, which means like her. Literally just her. That's literally just like her pronoun. And people theorize that it's like, oh, because they couldn't say her real name. It was too terrifying, right? Because she was the queen of the underworld. But the thing with that interpretation is that it's actually more of a modern retelling of the story. It's not ancient, at least according to like a lot of sources. It's not an ancient retelling because it's a lot of people like kind of pretending that it is ancient. It's like, actually you got it wrong. It's actually a feminist figure when actually the actually is that that's more modern. That's actually like a modern feminist retelling of that story. And it's meant to give Persephone more agency. It's meant to like make it seem like, oh, she intended to do this all along. When in reality, like the historical sources do say that like, no, she was taken against her will. In this culture, they didn't respect women that much. so that is a historical part of it. And while the modern retelling isn't necessarily like a bad thing because it's kind of like it's like this feminist empowerment, it's incorrect to say that that's like the actual like ancient version of it. And that's what you kind of started to see. And that's also because of that, you start to see it in other modern retellings like Lore Olympus. That's like a webtoon Korean webcomic that says that like, oh yeah, Persephone, like she's actually like this terrifying being and she's meant to be the queen of the underworld. I think the Hades game also tries to put it in a more positive light as well. I don't know for sure. Greek mythology fanfic. Exactly. It's basically fanfic. And what's interesting is that you see this in Filipino mythology too. There's actually a lot of things that are attributed as being ancient, but they're actually not. They're actually from like the 50s. So if you ever see a myth about like, oh yeah, there's this the goddess okay, so back in ancient times, ancient like Filipinos, they did worship like the sun, the moon, and the stars, but there's like oddly specific fics about like, oh yeah, the star was the daughter of the moon and the sun. There's like a specific tale about like the moon getting into a fight with the sun, and that's why the moon doesn't shine as bright. They're very interesting tales, but they're not actually ancient. They're actually from the 50s, like I said. That doesn't mean they're any less of like a cool mythology from the Philippines. But I think the problem that I have personally is the whole like trying to pretend that it's ancient when it's not. Like I have no problem with those myths existing, but I do have issue with people being like, actually they're ancient. Pleased to tell us the empowerment of becoming an almond tree or being turned into a spider, right? Exactly, it's kind of revisionist mythology. And like I said, it's not necessarily that these are like being done maliciously. It's not necessarily like, oh yeah, we're just gonna mess with history like maliciously, you know? In the case of the Persephone story, it is to kind of give a little bit more agency. It's a feminist retelling, right? Because there is this need for like people to see themselves in these tales and like hope for kind of like a better ending or a better outcome. I'm sorry to inform you, Babinka, we're just old. We're the ones who are ancient. No, we're old. I know. But yeah, so that's like another side to the whole like idea of modern monsters, because I think this whole idea is interesting. The idea of like reimagining, revisiting certain tales is very interesting to kind of like cater it more towards like our lives now. But I guess there I don't know. There's just like a little bit of issue with like trying to kind of like make it revisionist, claiming that that's like how it always was when it isn't. It's a modern reinterpretation. So that's my little spiel on that. But with that being said, I think this is actually the last slide. Is my voice is going. Let me take a sip of my water first, and then we'll end off, because with that being said, there is still like a something that I want to talk about. What are our current, what do modern monsters look like, right? Let me get a sip of water. Okay, I got my sippy. I got my sippy of water. A business suit and a power tie. You know what's interesting? When you said that, I imagined Slender Man, which does count as a modern monster, doesn't it? Actually, yeah, let's talk about that. Let's dive on in. This is the last slide. This is the last part of my presentation, but we can actually keep the conversation going by thinking about, like, well, if those are like the ancient monsters, those are the things that made ancient Filipinos like anxious and worried enough to create monsters out of it. What are the current monsters? What are the modern monsters? So, you know, what are things that, like, I think Slenderman actually is a really good example. Because, you know, it's I know you were talking about, like, you know, business suit and a power tie. This whole, like, capitalism itself is kind of horrific if you think about it. Well, actually, you don't even have to think about it. It is horrific. But then what does a capitalist monster look like, right? Is it Slenderman or is it an elongated muskrat, you know? So, you know, that's something to think that's also something that I like to think about because, you know, as I said, Slenderman, now we can think of like what are monsters that actually scare us nowadays. And like, I feel like video games is a good way to kind of analyze that. I was going to make that joke. You still can. You still can. The dreaded wiener muskrat. Can you imagine if like our linguistics and mythology eventually make it so that, like, you know, centuries from now, alien anthropologists are like, they kept on talking about this like long rodent and how they hated it and how it ruined a blue bird. And like that actually is the makings of like a mythology of like, oh, like why are they talking about like a blue bird that was ruined by like a long rodent, you know? Actually, are muskrats even rodents? But yeah, I was also thinking about like Five Nights at Freddy's, you know, like why is that so horrific to us? Like, you know, it the cool thing about Five Nights at Freddy's is that it kind of touches on like 90s nostalgia in a way, but warps it in a way that is kind of horrific, right? Like getting stuck in an animatronic. Creepypasta as a whole is a good example of, yeah, modern monsters and the fear of technology and strangers online. Yes, I think about like Link, what is it, Link Drowned? The Legend of Zelda one, right? Because like then you get into this idea of like, oh, things that we trust, things that like, the thing with video games is that it's a code. It's code that like says like, when you press this button, this thing will happen to this polygon. And like the thing with code is that like, well, I guess like coders can make jokes about it, but like it's somewhat reliable, you know, barring certain glitches. But sometimes if the glitches start to seep into reality, that's when it gets kind of terrifying, right? That's good, people. Yeah, isn't that really good? I'm thinking of the Korean. Yes, the Korean comic, the one that, the one that like auto scrolls your window. That one's terrifying. They are, and they swim really well, and they are good. They're good eating. Mandor hook. But who was wrong? These would be so interesting to see from the perspective of like an alien anthropologist, like 10,000 years from now, being like they're trying to decipher our history, our oral history, our creepypastas, and they're being like, yeah, I just don't get this one. This one is just the character for person, and then one for like a hook, and then like a chariot, and then like an opening. I really don't get it. That's actually why like the oldest joke is like a bar joke. It's like a Mesopotamian one, but we don't understand it because the meme of it, the explanation of it is like lost to us. I think it goes something like a door. No. A dog walks into a bar and says, "I can't see anything." Wait, what was it again? It's like a Mesopotamian joke. That's like the oldest joke that we have. Ancient Mesopotamia joke. Here we go. Trusty old Reddit. This bar joke from ancient Sumer. A dog walked into a tavern and said, "I can't see a thing. I'll open this one." And that's it. That's the joke. And like Gojikin said, the context is lost, but it probably goes hard. This one probably made the ancient Sumerians like bust out, you know? Trying to explain dead memes. Exactly. Imagine alien trash anthropology going through like a discarded computer's internet browser history. For real. It's like the death of, I kind of want to go further with this modern mythology now with like, elongated muskrat destroying Twitter. It's like, oh yeah, there tells a myth of this long rodent, and he devoured this beautiful bluebird that so many people had valued. But eventually people started to instead worship this blue butterfly instead. And they called it a variety of names. One of them referred to the sky, but the other one referred to biscuits. It's a Sumerian dad joke. Oh my gosh. But yeah, if you think about it, you can do this treatment with like a lot of things in our culture. With like memes, like Matthew was saying, like dead memes. Even just like things that we take for granted, like I because I teach like both art and history to students, I like telling them like, what if there's something that like that you use nowadays that might someday become like it might be in a museum. It might not even be what we expect it to be. Like I'll never stop thinking about the fact that the first case of someone dying of laughter was a guy laughing at his own fart joke. Oh good lord. Oh no, poor guy. I was thinking of things like, oh yeah, Mothman, Jersey Devil, Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, Yeti, Jeff Bezos. That's crazy. Okay, guys, there is another ad break. I do want to continue this conversation, so we'll have you guys go to recess. We'll come back. We'll keep on talking about this, and then we'll raid out. Actually, the tall tale of the one-legged man walking across Canada one day. Can you discuss how modern myths or folklore develop over time, or the origin of phenomena in the future? Yeah. We can touch on that after the ad break right now. So you guys can go into recess. I'm actually gonna step away so I can put my old outfit on and also fix my physics. So yeah, let's go into the ad break, and then I'll see you guys after. Oh wait, did you wait? Oh, it's okay, Matthew. It's okay. Actually, I might just force the ad in that case. Alright. BRB. I'm just gonna force the ad so that it plays. Yeah, there we go. Alright, I'll see you guys after the ad. Alright, are we back? We back? Welcome back. You guys were good. You guys didn't eat any of the cars. Good job. We've all been there. Yeah, no worries, Matthew. Did I just get a bug bite? No, I just got a bug bite. No. Nobody show her the back of the cars. Oh no. No, don't drink the cars. Oh no. Okay, let's get back into the swing of things, shall we? Yeah, that's actually the last. That was the last slide. But yeah, let's keep on talking about this whole thing of like, how is mythology made? We kind of touched on it, right? Of like, mythology isn't made overnight. it's made over the course of generations. Well, not even just mythology, like religion, stories, folk stories, like that stuff. And a lot, the shame of things is that when it comes to studying history, a lot of oral histories are kind of hello, what the kale, hello, welcome, welcome. We're wrapping up, but we can do a short review before we raid out. But we were talking about folk creatures, talking about monsters of the Philippines. So yeah, we're talking about now about like how mythology is made. Hello, welcome, welcome. Oftentimes mythology is made to explain something in the world. So like I said, with the Bakunawa, by the way, this was my little rendition of a Bakunawa, but like it's so simple. It's just like compared to all the other renditions that are so like complex and they have so many designs. And I think because I was just doing like a one drawing a day thing, I was like, just make it a snake. Just make it a snake. He's eating the moon. You love monsters? Nice, nice, nice. I like a half-bodied flying woman. Oh yeah, we were talking about that one, the Manananggal. There we go. Yeah, this one. So yeah, a lot of these started out as explanations for certain things that people observed in their lives. So, with the Manananggal, they would witness like eclipses and wonder like what is causing that? What is causing the moon to go red or the sun to disappear? These things that are in the sky, right? So they would start to create stories out of that. In the case of like nature spirits or losing something, like getting lost in the woods, that's a tikbalang. Getting sleep paralysis, that's the batibat. Losing like a belonging, you know. Baby snake, let him have his snack. Folklore is cool because it's just another facet of culture to explain things. Yeah, exactly. Facet that I personally find very interesting. Yeah, me too. Me too. So that was like a lot of like what we were talking about is like monsters in general are like metaphors for like social anxieties, natural disasters, that kind of stuff, even to the modern day. So then the question is like, what are the modern monsters now, right? The moon turned red because it's blushing. The sun went away because it's hiding. Such simple riddles. I mean, the doy. But yeah, that's where a lot of mythology comes from. And in terms of, let's see, what did you ask again, Young Childish? Can you discuss how modern myths or folklore develop over time? Yeah, so in the case of like nowadays, back then it would be through oral histories. And the cool thing about oral history is that like it changes with each person that tells it. I love, you know, all of us we tell stories to one another, and there are people that specialize in storytelling. Sometimes one person can like change the way that a story is told, and then when someone else listens to it and then they tell it in their own rendition, little by little there's going to be these changes that make the characters vary in a bit. That's why like I said, with some of these Filipino monsters, that's why things will differ. Because one person from Manila will have told the story to someone else. They'll go to another part of the Philippines. They'll tell the same story, but then they'll reimagine it. Or they'll change something up to make it relate more to their population. So yeah, it's the same with language too, eventually. But in the case of modern times, now we have the internet to do that. Or basically, like, what is the main way that like a lot of people communicate, especially like here in the West? It's through like the internet. Actually, I can't even say West, but like worldwide, like the internet and like I think beeplebees came up with a really good thing of the copypastas, creepypastas. A snackery, I'm telling a story. Come here. Oh, snackery. Snackery wants to hear the story. Web fishing is a way to communicate. Exactly. What kind of myths do you think are being created right this second through web fishing, right? I think that's actually a good example. Like memes. Memes is like another really good way to like kind of spread like create and like spread mythology. I remember seeing like a really good meme where it was like a combination of 3 memes. And it was something like you kind of have to have like the previous are memes just modern mythology? Memes are also modern surrealism in action. I did a presentation on this like way back when I was like teaching at another place, about memes as like surrealism. But that might be a presentation for another day. I can't take credit for the idea. I heard it in a video essay. No, that's good too. Yeah. Well, you helped. See, you were also the go-between. You were the storyteller that heard a story elsewhere, aka YouTube, and you told that story to us on Twitch through chat, and now we can tell that story to other people. So little by little, each time you tell the story, it might differ, right? Or our relation to it will change. The myth of my uncle that works at Nintendo and told me you can unlock Luigi in Mario 64, or the one where like if you do this certain button combination in front of the truck in Pokemon Yellow, you can get Mew, right? That counts as modern mythology, right? I cannot wait for future generations to bring up all the stuff we laughed at. Exactly. That's just a theory, a game theory. It was by Strange Eons if you're curious. Yeah, I think that's the PBS one, right? I like that one. I look at their dinosaur stuff all the time. Or maybe I'm thinking of another one. Yeah, whatever. But yeah. So that's both ancient and modern mythology in a nutshell, but we also went into different creatures, different anxieties that we have, right? Different explanations as to where these monsters came from. But like I said in the beginning, just know that like for some communities, these aren't just stories and superstition. These are the real deal. Oh, Strange Eon's the YouTuber. Okay, I'm gonna have to check them out then. I'm gonna have to check them out. Oh, this is a nice song to end off on. I know it might be kind of soft, but I mean, can I put it up a little? This is from Umineko, but it's one of the more like touching songs. But yeah, I think that's why I like mythology so much, because it's like ancient people's way of explaining the world, but it's also our way of explaining the world, but also understanding ancient people. Well, not even ancient, like other people. So yeah, that's the presentation. That's it. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. But yeah, let's finish up. You guys have any questions? Anything else you guys want to chat about before we call it for the day? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions. Otherwise, I think I can look for someone to raid out into. Wait a second. I'm gonna check Discord for something. Milky, she's live. She's live. I think I'm gonna raid it to Milky, but let's mosh. Let's mosh. Thanks for the stream. Hides under the desk till next stream. It was a lot of fun. Thank you. Hubrock is playing Project Zomboid. Ooh, cool. I do want to raid into Milky though. It's been a while since I saw her stream, and she was here. So let's do our mosh pit. For those who aren't familiar with our end of stream tradition, we do a little mosh pit. I mean, oh no, you're seeing my secrets. Now this is what I use to raid out into people. But let's there we go. Yeah, we have an end of stream tradition where we mosh to a song, and by mosh, just spam emotes. So you can do that. You can spam emotes. I also have a command that makes your little avatars fight each other. And yeah, that's gonna be our mosh pit. We're gonna listen to Casper Catticini's song, Ghost Ghouls and Monsters, because I kept on referencing it today. And after we mosh, we're gonna raid into Milky. Alright? So let's stop the Umineko music. When you hear the music, feel free to start spamming those emotes. Stream secrets. We can make a mythology out of that. Gonna head out, have a nice mosh. Yeah, thank you, beeplebees. Thank you. Mosh pit. Seribot's fighting. Why is Seribot fighting? Ghost Ghouls and Monsters. Oh, my voice. Skeletons and the spiders. Under your bed, I wonder. If Saribot wins, no, Mega Bronson won. Good job, the cast baby. Let's go. All right, you guys ready for round 2? Heaven or hell? Fight. Oh, and Schnagry wants out, so I'm gonna let him out. Yo, Young Childish! You won the mosh pit! Good job. Bro, the part with Germa. Like, why did he put Germa in the video? Yeah, you got the mosh pit. Yeah, congrats. Congrats. This video's so cute. Casper goated for real, for real. Germa! Germa. This video's so cute. Alright guys, so we're gonna go ahead and call it here. I think my next stream isn't until Friday, and I forgot what I put. Give me a second. Wait, what are we doing on Friday? Tarot readings! I'm gonna be using my voice again! Tarot readings on Friday, and then Saturday morning is digital art! We're going to do some digital art! And that'll be the week. So, George! Good evening, George! You came just in time for us to raid out. Awesome possum! Okay, let's go ahead and raid into Milky! Oh my god, it's been so long! It's been so long! Good morning, George! Alright, let's raid out. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. I really appreciate you guys coming out to these educational streams. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you guys have a good morning, afternoon, or evening. And as always, I'll see you guys when I see you guys.